Hi, how you doing? Dan here. I'm at Thorpe Park today. This is basically a follow-up video from the video I did previously about the ride access passes. So I thought it'd be quite cool to do specific parks. I'll start with Thorpe Park because this is my home park and it was easiest for me to get to, and I could like nip here in between jobs today. What I've done is I've been round and I've had a look at all the accessibility entrances, including step-free entrances. I've looked at where to pick up your passes. It's a little bit different today because it's school trip season. You can see all the millions of coaches in the background there, but it's school trip season, so there's a lot, it's absolutely packed. The wait time's like 100 minutes for different things. So yeah, I've been round, filmed that, and I'm going to mark down in the description the different timestamps for the different rides, and hopefully this will be helpful, especially if you're a bit nervous about coming. I know it can be a bit nerve-wracking trying to find the right entrances, especially when it's your first time. So anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on and let's have a look at some of the rides. Currently, as we're going into summer, it's very busy. They've got the two desks here. You pick up your ride access pass from here before you go through security, and you can go through the priority lane, which is on the far left, just where the security guard's standing there. Now, once you go through security and you come to the central area where there are kiosks on the right-hand side, the two far windows are the ride access pass kiosks, so you can collect your wraps there. They'll ask you if you require step-free access and what colour your ride access pass is. You have to show them your actual pass and your booking, which is your barcode. They will then fill out the form for you, ask you your party number, fill that in and hand that over to you to use. If you've got a red ride access pass, they will give you a wristband, but for yellow they won't at the moment. So we've got a couple of prerequisites. These are general accessibility requirements for every ride, so these are actually on every ride that you'll come to. The first is you must have enough strength in your upper body, in your neck and your shoulders to be able to brace yourself on the rides. That is on every single ride. Secondly, you must be able to transfer yourself into the ride seat unaided. So let's move on to the rides. So we'll start off with depth charge. So this one unfortunately doesn't have a dedicated disabled entrance. As you can see, the majority of it is upward stairs to get up to the ride. Unfortunately, there's no lift or anything like that as part of this ride. If you need step-free access, unfortunately, I don't think this one's for you. Apart from that, it's the standard. You need the upper body strength to brace yourself, and you need to be able to get yourself into the boat unaided. So next up, we've got Swarm. So this one is the wing coaster. This is one of the big ones in the park. For this one, it's the same general warnings, so about pregnancy, pacemakers, etc. I won't go into that in this video because this is standard across all of the rides. For the accessibility, there is a disabled entrance, which is at the ride's exit. Again, you must have the full body strength to brace yourself on the ride and be able to get yourself into the ride unaided. Also, for the evacuation, you need to be able to exit your seat at an angle. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but hopefully you won't have to evacuate. Follow the instructions if you do. So the accessibility entrance is to the left, fixed with a fast track entrance, and you split off and you go around the side to the exit for the wheelchair access. The Flying Fish, the accessibility entrance is at the front along with the general queue. So for this one, you need to have 3 limbs. So if you're an amputee or you are missing any limbs, you do need to take that into account. So 3 full limbs. So the step-free access is the other side of the photo kiosk for the ride. Let's just have a walk around there now, dodging the millions of school kids that were here today. So as you'll see, that's just by the exit. Okay, the next ride we're going to look at is Tidal Wave. Now this one's quite interesting because the ride has such a big footprint. Step-free access is quite a way away from the general queue line. There's the entrance, just by Big Easy Boulevard. You must have at least 3 limbs to ride the Tidal Wave, and if you have a prosthetic limb, it must be either removed or secured before going on the ride. So let's go for a walk. What I did notice here is that the benches are laid out in a way that if you do come round the wrong side of them and you are in a wheelchair or a mobility vehicle, you are going to have trouble getting through. So you do need to take the outside route, so to speak. As we come round, you can see the sign posted just outside the mega store. Follow the signs round. It is quite a distance between the general queue line and the step-free access. So as you come along, you'll see the big dryers. So we are just on the left of the big dryers. You can see there's one final sign there directing you under the bridge. Just by the water cannons on the left-hand side. So if you go under the bridge, take a left, you'll see the entrance just there. It's really out of the way, but at least you know where it is now. So next up we've got the big easy bumpers. These are the bumper cars right in the middle of the boulevard. It's just next to Tidal Wave. So the accessibility entrance is right next to the general entrance. Again, you must have the strength to brace yourself on the ride, be able to get yourself onto the ride yourself, and you can only have one missing limb. So again, if you're an amputee, do take note of that. I tried to get some really good footage of this, but every time I turn the camera on, the bumper cars stop. So next up we've got Dobble Tea Party, which is the teacup ride. So again, this is right in the middle of Big Easy Boulevard. So again, same warnings, you must be able to transfer yourself into the ride unaided, although some of them do say that you can transfer in aided. So if you're with a carer, they'll be able to help you out. So as you can see on this one, wheelchairs can be taken onto the platform to transfer into the teacup, but they must be taken off the platform during the ride. So now we've got Stealth. I absolutely love this ride. If you haven't been on it, give it a try. So this is the general queue line for the Stealth. It's a great entrance with the big wheel. Very, very cool, but this one's a little bit more complicated. So you've got the fast track and the regular entrance here. On the outside of the queue line down towards the loading bays for the ride, and you'll see there's a whole separate queue line for accessibility. It's a much shorter line, but there are steps on this particular entrance. So as you can see there, the wheelchair access is just to the right. It's actually located in the exit. Well, you'll see here, as I'm coming in, a ride was finishing, so everyone was unloading. I'll be honest with you, it is a bit tricky to get down here. It was a bit tricky for me to get down here walking, and I think let alone if you've got a wheelchair to push down. So obviously the photo booth's just to the side. Yeah, and here we go, and here's the lift. You would need to speak to a member of staff before using that. So there's a couple of warnings on here about the rollbacks and strong magnets, so pacemakers, phones, etc. And your standard warnings, again, pregnancy, etc, etc. Now for the accessibility requirements, so I've just showed you where the entrance is for the booth. You must have 3 full limbs. Any prosthetic limbs must be removed on this one before riding. You must be able to brace yourself, and you must be able to get into the ride by yourself. Next up we've got Rumba Rapids. Now unfortunately this has been closed more than open during the season while I've been here. There are no step-free access to this ride. There is a moving platform, which is how you get onto the actual ride. So as you can see, there's a 100-metre walk and 34 steps. So if you can't do steps, you may need to give this one a miss. Now I've got Nemisis Inferno. Now I love this one. Getting a bit rickety, but still a great ride. Let's have a look at the warnings. So you've got your standard warnings there, and now your accessibility warnings. There's a few more on this one. So you must have 3 full limbs to ride the ride. Any prosthetic limbs need to be removed before you go on the ride. Again, you must have the upper body strength to brace yourself on the ride. It's quite important on this one as well. Same with Stealth and Saw, you must be able to brace yourself on those. Also warnings on there about being able to manoeuvre in the case of evacuation, so you must be able to turn 180 degrees. So, and also saying there that this one you are able to get assistance into the ride. Now I don't think the staff will help you do that, it's if you have a carer with you, and there's also a chair available in case of evacuation. You'll see the accessibility queue line just a little bit further round to the right. It's quite nicely marked out, this one. It's not, some of them feel a bit hidden. You'll notice that. I thought Colossus was very much like that. Again, there's a board there at that entrance. So if you follow it round, there is the step-free access to the ride, which is right around the side. There's a lift just in the far corner. Now, unfortunately, as I walked around, I was greeted with a sign outside to say that the lift is currently out of action and they're working on it. Now, the problem that I've got with this is they've got this really nice sign. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that that's been out of action for a long time. If perhaps you could tell me if you visited and it has been out of action for a long time. So next up we've got Detonator. You won't catch me on Detonator. So the access queue for the Detonator is the exit. So for this one, you must be able to brace yourself, get yourself on the ride, and you must have 3 full limbs to ride the ride. The prosthetics don't count towards it, and they must be either removed or secured. So next up we've got the Sunset Cinema. At the moment it's showing Ready Player One, like a special edition version of it. It's really cool actually, it's really good fun, and it shows every hour. This is a shot inside the cinema. I took this a couple of months back, but obviously it's all the same. So there's lots of effects as part of the show, it's being a 4D show. There's smoke, leg ticklers, the seats do jerk around. If you speak to a member of staff as you go in, they can direct you to a seat with less movement, but I think there are still effects that happen, so do ask. So next up is Ghost Train. Unfortunately it was shut when I visited. This is basically a scare attraction, so there's live actors. So the accessibility queue is right next to the general queue, you go in the same way. Now for the accessibility requirements, you can take your wheelchair in, but you do need to transfer it into a seat on the train. It's like a London Underground tube. So there is a walk-through section to the ride. Unfortunately, you're unable to take your wheelchair with you, so you would need to walk a short distance, so do bear that in mind. So you do need to walk 50 steps in the case of evacuation, so please do bear that in mind when choosing to go on this ride. There are a lot of sensory triggers in this ride, I mean a lot. It's, as I say, it is in fact a scare attraction, so please be aware that there's strobing, there's live actors, there's people jumping out at you. There are some scary bits in there if you're not used to that sort of ride, so that is definitely worth considering when you go in there. So next up we've got Mr. Monkey's Banana Ride. So at the general queue here, this one, the accessibility area is around the other side of the booth, so we'll have a walk around there now. You must be able to brace yourself against the force of the ride, and you must be able to transfer yourself into the seat. You can be aided by your carer or someone from your party. So as we walk around, you'll see the Ghost Train just on the right hand side. The accessibility entrance is opposite the entrance to the Ghost Train. You walk up this small path here. Again, it's not really well signposted, but if you look for the Ghost Train entrance, it's literally opposite that. Thorpe Park's newest ride, Hyperia. They've really done a good job with the information for Hyperia. The sensory information, the accessibility, step-free access, everything. They've done a fantastic job. So as you enter the area, this is right as you get to the Hyperia area. It tells you to stick on the left-hand side. So if you walk right up towards the stage at the far end, you'll see the different entrances. It doesn't pick that well up on camera, but the ride access pass is on the left-hand side. So for accessibility, the board covers everything. All the sensory information is there, so everything, touch, smell, everything that could possibly happen while you're on the ride is pretty amazing. So what they're saying is, in the loading area, there are sounds, smells, and smoke as well. It talks about the missing limbs. It shows you examples, so this is very handy for knowing if you're good to ride, and you can have a look on there, and the accessibility information. So it's telling you all about the seats. I won't go into too much detail here because there is so much there. It's very, very good and very, very detailed. So what I would say is perhaps pause the video and have a look at that information there. So next up we've got Samurai. Why I'd want to ride this I don't know, always makes me feel really, really sick. So it gives you all your standard warnings as usual. So there is a disabled entrance, well, accessibility queue. It's right next to the general queue. You must be able to get yourself in the seat, brace yourself, a bit out of date. So next up we've got Saw the Ride. This is one of my favourites, one of the shakiest rides on the park, apart from Colossus, that is. So at the general entrance, you can see it's split up there. So there's a main entrance, it is fast pass and accessibility entrance. So for the accessibility entrance, just make sure you go down the right line because everyone always comes out. If you spin round, step-free access is just here, and there is information there how to call a member of staff for assistance with filling. Next up is Colossus, the rattliest ride on the park. This one's definitely showing its age, but still good fun. So this is the general entrance for the Colossus. There is a sign to tell you where the fast pass entrance is, but what they don't tell you is you go down the general queue line for accessibility and then it splits off. Wheelchair access or step-free access is via the exit at the shop, so you can go through the shop. So again, you must have upper body strength to be able to brace yourself on the ride, and you must be able to transfer yourself into the seat unassisted. So in case of emergency, you must be able to turn 180 degrees to get out of the seat and be able to use a waist harness, which they'll provide. That's if there's an evacuation. So next up we've got Rush, which is a flat ride. Now for all these flat rides, generally you would enter via the exit. So at the entrance you've got the signpost there, so accessibility, you go to the centre. And there we go, it's right there. So that's the exit. So again, general safety warnings. And for accessibility, you must be able to transfer yourself with assistance into the seat. You must be able to brace yourself, and the entrance is the exit. So next up we've got Quantum. So again, you enter by the exit, there's a ramp there. You must be able to brace yourself and you must be able to transfer yourself into the seat with assistance. Next up is Vortex. Another flat ride, so you enter by the exit, you must be able to walk and transfer yourself into the seat unaided on this one. In case of an emergency and evacuation, you may need to negotiate a ladder. Now we're on to the big one, High Striker. This one is a kid's ride. So it's got your general warnings. So you must be able to brace yourself, transfer yourself into the ride unassisted. Any prosthetic limbs must be secured. Now we've got Zodiac. So you must be able to transfer yourself into the seat. You must be able to brace yourself against the forces. And let's have a look where the ride access queue is. Right, so you walk from the entrance past the delicious donuts, and just on the other side you've got the exit. So you would just go in here. It is marked on this one. Right, Storn Surge. Right, the entrance to Storn Surge is just on the side of the Megastore. So for this one, you must enter via the accessible entrance, which is right next to the general entrance. You must be able to transfer yourself into the boat unaided, and you must be able to brace yourself against the forces of the ride. There are a couple of sensory things here as well, so you might get wet on this one. I mean, if you're going on a water ride, please do assume you are going to get wet. So Walking Dead the ride. So this one is quite a tricky one actually. There's lots of sensory parts to the queue line and the actual ride itself. There may also be live actors. The accessibility queue is right next to the main queue. It's dark, it is loud, it smells. There's lots of jerking around in the ride, and again, you will need to be aware that there may be live actors in the actual ride. Usually they're just at the exit, and top tip, unfortunately they didn't have the board out today, so they didn't have live actors in today, but usually they will have a board out to tell you if there are live actors in there. Again, you must be able to transfer yourself into the ride and brace yourself against the force of the ride. So that's it, so that's everything. I hope this has been helpful with some decent information about the rides. I know all I've done really is walk around and just film the entrances, but if this helps, then great. Hopefully this makes your trip a little bit easier. I know when you turn up to a new place and you don't really know what to do to get your access card, it can be an absolute nightmare. Also, knowing where the entrances are is really helpful. You don't have to spend 20 minutes looking for an entrance. I just thought this was a nice idea to try and help out you guys, as the community's been very good to me, so I just wanted to give something back. So that's it. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If there's any questions, please do ask. I'll link the Facebook groups again as per the previous video down below. Please do join. Everyone's friendly, everyone's really helpful. It's a really nice community and it's a good way to ask any questions that might be more specific than what we're covering here. Please give us a like and a subscribe. It'd be really helpful. It really helps me. And thank you again very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.